All right, listeners. Now is a great time to talk about a new partner of ours here on Acquired, Legora, the agentic operating system that is redefining how the world's best legal teams work.
Yep, it's sort of obvious that AI is going to completely change the legal industry. I bet most of you listening have dropped a contract into some sort of AI chatbot out there. Legora took that insight and asked the question, what if you really built something with that power from the ground up for the legal industry?
So the founders did exactly what great founders do, operate with obsessive customer focus. They embedded inside a massive law firm for months. They sat with the lawyers just watching how the work really gets done.
And that's how you get features that customers love, like Tabular Review, where you drop in a folder of hundreds of contracts and it pulls every key term into a grid a lawyer can actually work with. Legora's bet here is interesting. Since it lets each lawyer handle more complexity, any given person can increase the quality of their work and do higher value work. And this means that the pie can grow even as each individual task takes less time.
And they recently launched Legora Agent, offering greater intelligence and performance. The agent lets lawyers set an objective. Then it can handle the planning and the execution and delivery of the final product. Legal teams get to maintain full control and transparency since they're still involved where judgment is required.
And Legora works where you already work. You can use it within Microsoft Word while redlining or drafting. The early Legora numbers essentially speak for themselves. When they have a head-to-head pilot with their top competitor, they win 70% of the time. Legora now has over 100,000 lawyers on the platform from 1,200 legal teams in 50 countries. And crazily, they went from 1 million to 100 million in ARR in about 18 months.
Truly insane numbers. And that is the real test. Plenty of things demo well, but the question is whether a busy associate actually reaches for it during crunch time, or whether a partner trusts it before going into a conversation with a major client. If your legal team wants to check it out, whether you're a law firm or you're in-house at a company, you can learn more at legora.com/acquired and just tell them that Ben and David sent you.
Who got the truth? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Who got the truth now? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Sit me down, say it straight. Another story on the way. Who got the truth?
Welcome back to episode 2 of Acquired. I'm Ben Gilbert.
I'm David Rosenthal.
And we are your hosts yet again, at least for the second time, and hopefully many, many more.
Hopefully many more. Thank you to all of our listeners, all few of you, for the amazing, few but growing, small in number, strong in spirit.
True.
Thank you for the amazing feedback. It was incredible. We learned a lot. We learned that Ben has amazing idioms.
Amazing idioms. David has dulcet tones.
Thank you for the feedback. We will try to incorporate it and hope that we keep getting better. If you have more feedback after this one, please send it to us. You can find the show on Twitter at @AcquiredFM. You can find Ben at
Gilbert.
You can find me, David, at DJ Rosent, DJROSENT. And our website is live at acquired.fm.
So, should we introduce ourselves again? What do you think for the first couple so more than our original 5 listeners get the lowdown?
I think we can do it just this once.
Then once we're viral after episode 3, then we can stop introducing ourselves. Yeah.
Sounds right.
So I'm Ben Gilbert. I am the co-founder of Pioneer Square Labs here in Seattle. We come up with ideas for companies. We prototype them. We build them. We try and get customers. And if it seems to be working, then we recruit really talented people to come in and take the company from us, and we go start the next thing.
And I'm David. I am a principal at Madrona Venture Group. We are an early stage venture capital firm located here in Seattle. Invest in seed, Series A, Series B stage technology companies. Always looking for the next great thing, which might become the next great acquirer or maybe acquiree. Hence our podcast.
All right. So with that, let's segue into our second episode. Our first was Disney acquiring Pixar. And here for our second, as another landmark, successful, even in the very recent last couple of years, this one's not nearly as old, Landmark successful acquisition, Instagram by Facebook.
Facebook buying Instagram. So as a quick reminder, the framework that we've decided on for our show is we're going to briefly talk about the acquisition, kind of facts and history. Then each of us, Ben and I, are going to categorize the acquisition into a few buckets that we've identified. And then we're going to do a fun segment called What Would Have Happened Had the Acquisition Not Happened.
Trust us, it's fun.
And then we're adding a new one for this episode, which is tech themes that we think are illustrated by this acquisition. And then finally we're going to give the deal as a whole a grade. And we heard the feedback that Ben and I agree too much, so we're going to try and be more controversial here.
I'm not, though.
Yes, you are. Yeah. All right. Instagram. So, I remember vividly, this was one of those moments, in my technology life, at least, exactly where I was the day I found out that Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion. And today, sitting here in 2015, where there are like 623 unicorn startups out there that are valued at, more than $1 billion. Back in April 2012, there were very, very few. And the even idea that a company that had 13 employees and no revenue and made an app on your phone could be worth $1 billion was pretty shocking at the time.
And totally shocking because there was no, discussion of it being worth $1 billion pre-acquisition. The only indicator that number was ever talked about was when the deal was done and announced to the public.
Yep. And interestingly, Instagram raised its, I believe, Series B round of venture capital just like a week or even less than a week before the acquisition happened, and did value it at several $100 million. But all that only came out just right before or even during and after the acquisition news, which was pretty momentous. Really ushered in. Ben and I have been talking about this for this acquisition for months. It was part of the genesis of the idea of this show. This acquisition, I think, really ushered in, quote unquote, the age of the unicorn.
Yeah. As much as I hate the term, it sure does seem that way.
So, quick facts. April 2012, Facebook announces that they are buying Instagram, company with 13 employees, no revenue, no obvious monetization model, and had 30 million users at the time. And interestingly, just a week before, Instagram had launched their Android app and added 1 million users. At that time, with 13 employees and 30 million users, Instagram had 2.3 million users per employee at acquisition. Pop quiz. How many users per employee do you think Instagram has today?
Well, they've hired a whole bunch of people, right? So
They
they've
have.
hired,
They have.
I think what we were talking about earlier, they have like 150 employees now.
They have about 150 employees, as best as we can tell.
I don't know. That number's got to be significantly worse now.
It's better. 2.6 million users per employee. Instagram now has 2.5 years later, 400 million users.
Wow. Huh. Okay. So I don't know. I feel like I'm already hinting at my answer to the question later of my rendered conclusion, but this is our second episode. We're still getting to the easy ones here. Pretty incredible, honestly. I think the thing that always amazed me about Instagram was it's so simple. They focus their eyes on the prize, and the question is we'll get to this a little bit later, but what would have happened to that incredible, simple, sheltered platform if it wasn't integrated into the Facebook strategy and they were forced to start clawing and scratching for more of that attention that keeps people tied to Facebook? I think the interesting thing that Facebook realized is they're the social fabric. They're necessary. And it was getting to the point, everyone's parents were on Facebook. It became more of a utility in our lives than sort of an escape or an enjoyable thing. And actually, a quick aside, it's crazy. I was scrolling back through my history of writing on a friend's wall, and this is freshman year of college. And our conversation back and forth on each other's like public Facebook walls look like text messages. And they're talking about what grades we got in classes and like sort of private stuff that I wouldn't be posting today. It's really fascinating that, Facebook was very much that sort of fun place at that point, and not this thing that we viewed as kind of necessary and, a thing that it could be assumed that pretty much every person would have. And, you see there's a lot of reports of, hey, kids aren't using Facebook. They're just using Instagram. They're just using Snapchat. They're all using Facebook too, but it's for schoolwork. I mean, it's for the necessary, less fun things in their lives. And, starting with Instagram and with other acquisitions later, I mean, Instagram is sort of where you want to hang out, and Facebook is where you have to go. Yep.
And, Facebook, it's so easy to forget now sitting here in 2015, and maybe if we're looking for something funny in 2018, we'll go back and listen to our podcast that we're recording now. But it's even so hard to remember. Like, this was only 3.5 years ago when this acquisition happened, and Facebook was in such a different place from where it is today. The company had just recently gone public. Ben and I were just talking about this right before the episode. They were still in the whole HTML5 mobile app hell. Their apps were buggy.
God, can you remember when that was even a debate?
Oh, nightmare. And now, like, what is like half of Facebook's revenue, if not more? We should make a note too that we haven't fact checked most of our numbers, so we could be wrong here. But at least it seems like everything that people talk about with Facebook is their mobile app installs and their CPI ads. Like, you couldn't even do that with HTML5. Like, remember back, people talk about now, and I think Mark Zuckerberg has even said, that Facebook really made a huge misstep in mobile, and apps like Instagram, like WhatsApp that they would later acquire, like Messenger that they would build within Facebook in the coming years, really stepped in and took over a lot of the value that people were getting out of Facebook from back in the day, the fun.
And it's amazing because Facebook, really, really killed it on the desktop. There's a lot of different boxes everywhere. If you remember, there was the mini feed, and then there was the wall, and then there was apps that you could have installed. And
Super Poke.
Each one, Super Poke. God, do I miss Super Poke. There's these boxes that are sort of floating around all over the place, maximizing your screen real estate. And when they try to translate that to a mobile experience, it's tough to pare down all that stuff when your app has all this incredible functionality. Whereas you have Instagram, which is born in the mobile era, and I can have a funny story about this. It's born in the mobile era and has these immersive, beautiful, damn near full screen photographs. And all of my attention is on that one thing at one time. And it was focused on making anybody able to look like a talented creative, even if we weren't. I mean, I specifically remember one of my early Instagrams was of like the torn up bottom of my jeans and my shoe. And it looked so artsy with a filter. And it was a place where you could show off.
That's so emo.
In full screen. And really like, what they did was understand what people's attention span and what people's intention looked like when they were on that platform. And I remember this is not a thing that I came close to understanding at the time, because I remember I used to work at a Dogpatch Labs at Pier 38. May it rest in peace. Has recently been demolished.
When you're interning at CoTweet.
At CoTweet, yeah, in San Francisco. And
itself an acquisition.
Yeah.
An acquisition and then another acquisition.
Yeah. Everything becomes Salesforce eventually.
In the enterprise.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm at Pier 38, and the guys from Bourbon, later Instagram, are upstairs working on a pivot from their kind of location-based thing to this very simple, filter-focused, upload your photos to a social network app. And I remember seeing a demo of it when I walked by one time and telling Kevin, I'm pretty sure Facebook already lets you upload photos from your phone, and everybody's already on that.
And that, Ben, is why you're not a venture capitalist.
We'll leave that to David.
But no, I think, Ben, what you're saying, I think really illustrates, we're going to talk about themes, as part of our programming in a minute, but I think this really illustrates something critical about why Facebook needed Instagram, and that was engagement. Facebook before mobile, remember, back when it first launched when I was in college, and you were probably in high school when it first launched, right?
Yep.
How much engagement did you have with Facebook? It was, it's related to this concept of fun, right? And now Facebook has become this utility, and I barely engage with it at all. But Instagram and messaging, WhatsApp, and other services like that have become on mobile these atomized services where your engagement lies, and that's the core of driving advertising revenue. And
Facebook has always been really good at this strategy where social networking is a cool kids game. I mean, there's the cool kids go to a thing, and then the late adopters come on, and then parents come on, and then it's boring, and then it's built for the old world platform, and then it atrophies and it dies. And what Facebook did in acquiring Instagram is set their hubris aside and say, we're not the most important platform. The most important thing is our business staying alive. And what we have to do is bet on whatever the thing where the people are on the new platform is. And, after that critical first step, then they can start learning about what makes that so successful and kind of integrate all of those really talented folks to kind of like teach Facebook how to do that too.
So that brings us to section number 2 of our show. What category would you put this acquisition in? People, technology, product, business line, other?
It's funny. I was just talking about people, but that's totally second order here. I'm going to say this is product. The Facebook left it alone. I mean, Facebook did the thing that every other acquirer can't seem to resist in any scenario, and that is saying, oh, you know what this could do? This could make our main product better. And the reason that product was dangerous to you and potentially kicking your ass was because they figured something out you didn't. And it's been really incredible to watch Instagram have its own evolution. And, albeit with some little boosts and from the Facebook news feed and things like that, doing some algorithmic priority. But it's really remained a separate team, and stayed very true to the core of what they set out to do.
I think everything you said is right. And totally the natural category to put this in is products, but I'm going to be a little bit controversial. I'm actually going to say technology here. And the reason I'm going to say technology is not because of any specific great computer science-based innovation that the Instagram team had. But I'm going to say that this became, as I was talking about, really the first piece of Facebook's entire strategy for the mobile technology wave that they missed from the beginning. And
wait, David, you think that you think that they wouldn't have gotten their act together in making their app what it is today without, I mean, let's look at what their app is today. It's a collection of the most talented iOS developers in the world, and a lot of the best mobile designers in the world packed into one office, developing maybe arguably the best suite of apps in the world.
You just said the critical thing. Suite of apps. What is Facebook today? Facebook is a suite of apps company.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
I think without Instagram, and it's impossible to know how much of this is Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg and the rest of the core Facebook team strategy versus what's come from Kevin and Mike and the rest of the Instagram team. But I think without that acquisition happening, I think Facebook probably doesn't, or make an offer for Snapchat somewhat a few months or a short time after to buy Snapchat for $3 billion that Snapchat rejected. I think Facebook doesn't buy WhatsApp for the incredible amount of money that it did. and maybe even Oculus to a certain extent. But even more than that, again, think back to April 2012 when Facebook on mobile is this HTML5 mess. And think about Messenger now. To go from that HTML5 mess to the core Facebook app today, which drives a huge amount of revenue through their paid install program, ad program, and then to develop Messenger on the side and then have the guts to rip it out and make it part of this suite of apps strategy. Messenger, I believe the latest numbers has 700 million active users, which is pretty incredible for something that is now a fully standalone app.
Yeah, so I'll go with you on the technology of Instagram being a kick in the pants. But I don't think, we talk about like what a technology acquisition that is truly about, they understood how to do this computationally difficult thing better than we did, and we needed it to enhance our core product. Or, Apple acquiring the Touch ID company because they could make a differentiated product based on integrating that technology. I think that's a far second order thing here to acquiring the product of Instagram.
You might be right.
You'll get me later.
I'll get you later.
All right, listeners, now is a great time to tell you about a longtime friend of the show, Vanta. AI has scrambled the whole security picture. It used to be that you proved that you were secure once a year, an audit or a static PDF, then everyone would nod and you're done. But in an AI-first world, that doesn't hold up anymore.
Yep, your risk surface changes every week now. A vendor turns on an AI feature or someone writes in a new model without telling IT, and your posture is different than it was last week, let alone at your last audit. Vanta's own research found that around 70% of companies have this quote-unquote shadow AI running with no security review at all.
Right. And that's where Vanta comes in. They're the leading agentic trust platform, meaning they've built the thing that closes the gap. And the way that they close that gap is Vanta Agent. Think of it as a GRC engineer, that's governance, risk, and compliance, except that it's software and it doesn't sleep. It finds the issues, drafts the fixes, and cuts the time that you'd spend on vendor assessments in half.
In half! Which is exactly why more than 16,000 companies today run on Vanta. Companies like Ramp, Cursor, and Snowflake all stay audit ready and catch the risks that crop up between audits across every vendor, every AI tool, the whole environment.
And that's the real value. Trust has to be continuous now, which is why Vanta automates your security, your compliance, and the work to earn and prove trust. We're huge fans of Vanta over here, and literally hundreds of acquired listeners have become Vanta customers at their companies over the years. So you can get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/acquired. That's VANTA.com/acquired for $1,000 off, and just tell them that Ben and David sent you.
All right. What would have happened if Kevin Systrom had said no?
Yeah.
Instagram had just raised $50 million. They have plenty of runway, bright future ahead of them. Where would we be today?
Yeah. I think Instagram as a product to users wouldn't be significantly different. I think that it would have continued to grow more slowly because they didn't have the resources. They wouldn't have had the prioritization from, and this is theoretical. This is something we talked about before. Did Facebook really prioritize Instagram post in the newsfeed algorithm? Probably. I mean, it sure looked like it. It looked like we had a huge spike in that, and there was probably a lot more Instagram traffic.
On the other hand, one of the things I'm still bummed about today as
Twitter, a
loyal Twitter user. Oof. Oh man, how great was it when Instagram was natively integrated into the Twitter stream?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And that was a sad day when that integration broke.
Totally sad.
And actually it changed my behavior. Like I don't tweet photos on, like, I don't put a photo on Instagram and then tweet it because I know it's not going to show up. I natively upload it to Twitter now.
Yep. And how often do you do that?
Every third, fourth tweet.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
But I was going to say, these things negate each other. Twitter's at 300 million users and churning out everyone they can bring in. Churned out 1 billion plus so far. And Facebook's sitting pretty with, a decent chunk of the world's, internet enabled population.
Yep.
So I think anything Facebook does is, a 3, 4x, maybe 5x force multiplier on top of anything Twitter could do.
No doubt. However, I do think, Instagram has become itself a huge driver of audience. And
400 million active users.
400 million active users, added 100 million this year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think I think you can make an argument that they could have continued bootstrapping their way up into that user base through other platforms like Twitter, and using Facebook as well.
Yeah. I mean, here's how I think it would be different. I think, in the last 6 months, especially, Instagram has a very real ad platform. And they took their time in developing it. First, a very full serve one where you had to work directly with the Instagram team, now a self-serve dashboard. But you get these really immersive brand ads that are platform appropriate. They don't feel like something that I want to scroll past. I want to look at it almost as much as I want to look at the gorgeous nature photography that I see. They just didn't have the funnel of advertisers to point the ad platform at. So it would have been very slow to try and get advertiser attention and people to come over and use the Instagram platform and not only to spend their dollars there, but to spend their attention there learning a new platform. Whereas in the Facebook acquisition, they have this kind of dual deployment where you can buy ads on either from a single ad dashboard, much like Google did very early on with YouTube.
Yep. So I'm going to go in a little bit kind of out there crazy direction with this. And this is pure speculation. But I think if this acquisition hadn't happened, like I was talking about earlier, this kicked off the era of the constellation of apps, with Facebook and with, Twitter buying Vine. And gosh, even Instagram itself now between, Boomerang that they just launched and Hyperlapse.
And, Layout.
Yep.
Which kudos to the Instagram design team. The cohesiveness of those is really nice.
So let's imagine, though, for a second that this constellation of apps thing hasn't become a theme in the technology landscape over the past couple of years. What's really interesting because it has, you now have all of these major social platforms that have been created over the past 5 years, with the exception of Snapchat. All of the U.S. new domestic U.S. based social platforms are owned by other companies with other business models and other goals. And if you think about the level of business model innovation that's happened at this mobile app layer in the US and compare it to Asia and WhatsApp. Now, it's a pretty bold claim to say the acquisition of Instagram prevented the rise of WhatsApp-like business models in the US. But let's just, play this out for a minute. WeChat. Apologies. So, I meant WeChat.
Yeah, as a quick aside for listeners, if you haven't been reading up on WeChat, it is insane. I mean,
absolutely insane.
It's on the surface a messaging app, but it's effectively like an operating system where it's much easier for especially non-technical folks to build a plugin for their business to WeChat that enables all sorts of things from booking doctor's appointments to picking your kids up at school, all within this theoretical
WeChat is, in my opinion, WeChat is nothing short of literally the creation of an entirely new major business model for technology companies. And that is the value-added services and integrations business model. Before WeChat, it's amazing. This product is given away for free, not monetized through advertising. And still, in China, which is a brutally competitive market where it is very hard to monetize users, this product has, I believe the latest estimates are like a $7 ARPU, annual revenue per user in China.
Which is more than Twitter and rivaling Facebook, and those are ad platforms.
Exactly. And that is pretty incredible. So what I think is amazing is, because in the US you've had these new innovative mobile products be acquired by larger companies with older established business models, you haven't seen that happen in the US as much. Now, there are lots of other factors. Like in China, there was no mobile was really the first computing platform to be widely adopted across the whole population. There was no legacy desktop product and technology layer like there was in the US. That certainly had a lot to do with it too. But imagine, what type of business model innovation we might have seen had Instagram remained independent. I don't know. And certainly Snapchat is playing with it too.
In terms of constellation of apps?
In terms of business models.
Yeah, their channels thing will be really interesting to watch play out.
All right, listeners. Now is a great time to thank our longtime friend of the show, ServiceNow. If you are running a large enterprise, AI agents are likely spread across every team, and deploying them is no longer the hard part.
Yeah. The hard part is knowing what permissions they have, what employees are using them for, or what decisions AI is making. AI security for an enterprise at scale is not a small concern. Like, the risks are real.
Exactly. And the challenge with AI is governing it, securing it, measuring it, and making sure that it actually delivers value. That is why ServiceNow built the AI Control Tower.
Yep. AI Control Tower gives enterprises a single place to see, manage, govern, and optimize AI across the entire business. And it works with any AI, not just theirs. Every device on your network, every permission across every system, every AI agent visible and secure in one place.
And ServiceNow can do this because they've spent more than 20 years building the operational backbone of the enterprise, the workflows, governance, approvals, security controls, and institutional knowledge that power how work actually gets done across IT, HR, customer service, finance, and security.
ServiceNow already runs more than 100 billion workflows annually and trillions of transactions for more than 85% of the Fortune 500. So when companies need a place to govern AI at enterprise scale, they're building on a platform at the center of how their business already operates.
And in a future that isn't going to be one AI, it's going to be thousands of AI agents working across every function of the company. But the question is, who's managing them all?
So if you're trying to turn AI ambition into real business outcomes and make it work safely, securely, at scale, go check out servicenow.com/acquired and tell them that Ben and David sent you. All right. We'll move quickly here, but new segment for the show for episode 2. We've already talked about
this. Little theme music for
I know.
New segment.
What we've talked about this a bunch already, but for you, Ben, what kind of broad themes in technology does the Facebook Instagram acquisition kind of represent for you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this when you sent me earlier your idea to do the new segment, and I was trying to think. I think you did a really nice job in the last segment, kind of bringing in the app constellation theme. I think the other theme that this sort of opens up is that you really have to own the audience, and that sounds trivial and obvious at first, but I think what I mean by that is, in any distribution channel, you have suppliers, you have a distribution, and then you have the audience. And with the rise of these services, it's becoming increasingly more important to own the default channel that the users go to for leisure, for distraction, for whatever it is, because in the near infinite nature of the internet, you can push whatever you want through that channel to reach that audience. And I think Facebook's core asset was, and still sort of is, being that core place where people want to go and want to, the first thing you want to do when you open your phone, when you have some downtime or whatever it is, you go there to be distracted. You go there for fun. You go there to see your friends, to see whatever you aspire to. And that, owning the channel, makes you the most powerful advertising platform in the world. And on top of that, makes you the most powerful a lot of other things in the world. I mean, we're seeing it now with Facebook Instant Articles and other experiments that we're playing with, but you are a very, very powerful force in your business model and to other people's business models if you are the first step in dishing out who gets the attention after you. And I think Facebook saw that as an incredible, dangerous threat of people want to look at Instagram instead of us, and then they can start shoving whatever they want in that feed, even though that's kind of Instagram's model is to not clutter it up. they've managed to do a really nice job of taking that attention that they're getting as the front door of what you want to go look at, and putting that where advertisers are appropriately putting their
it's
their
you know,
ads.
it's I think this is one of the reasons why technology companies with advertising business models have become so much larger in terms of size and reach and revenue and value than old world advertising models. You know, I started my career steeped in old world media and advertising. You know, I worked in media technology and media investment banking, and then I worked at a newspaper at the Wall Street Journal. And but I worked when I was in banking, I worked on television and cable networks a lot, and their content and distribution were separate. You know, the distribution companies were the cable companies and the satellite companies, and they owned the distribution pipe, and the content companies were the cable networks, the AMCs, the Scripps, you know, all the channels that you see on cable TV, and those were two separate things, and they both had their own advertising. They shared the advertising pie. Those two stages of the value chain, and although television advertising was and perhaps still might be larger than web digital based advertising as a whole, no one company could become as big as a Google or as a Facebook has, because Google and Facebook have, or at least Facebook has integrated and through Instagram integrated content and distribution within one single company, within one single app or constellation of apps.
Yeah, they are the channel. I mean, Facebook is the channel for where you go when you want social or downtime, or, you know, the variety of other services that Facebook offers, events and messaging and all that.
Yep.
And Google is where you go when you have intent.
Yep. So for me, I think, you know, we've talked about a few things throughout the episode. You know, we mentioned briefly technology waves, which is something that Ben and I talk a lot about. This concept.
We should do a whole episode.
We should do a special episode on waves. But you know, the concept that in the tech world, there are these waves of technology that come every few years. And I think this is a perfect illustration of the wave of mobile coming and washing over the desktop wave, but bringing with it a whole new set of companies, of content and product models, of business models that may or may not have been implemented at least domestically. But that's one, and then the other one that, you know, I think is something I've been thinking about a lot lately in terms of technology themes. I think is the scalability and the leverage that technology gives you. And I'm thinking in particular about the number of employees at Instagram. I mean, this is just incredible. 13 employees with 30 million users.
Oh, and on those 13 employees, we were looking on LinkedIn too. I think 11 are still at Instagram.
Yeah, something crazy like that. You know, which is not typical for technology.
Yet another example of Facebook doing an acquisition.
Doing a great job here. But 13 employees at this landmark acquisition. And today, even at, you know, roughly 150 for 400 million users. And it's impossible to know how much revenue Instagram is generating today. But there was a great equity research report put out by Citigroup almost a year ago, in which they valued Instagram at $35 billion. And this was when Instagram had not quite 300 million users.
And what's Facebook's market cap?
I don't know offhand. I want to say it's right around 200 billion.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what a ridiculous chunk, right? Acquired for $1 billion.
And it was less back then.
Right.
And in that report, they estimate that Instagram revenues could be on the order of about $2 billion. I mean, that's incredible.
And this year, right? Is it 20? I think it was maybe summer 2015 to 2016 or something like that.
Yep. This year, last year, Citigroup estimated $2 billion in revenue for Instagram this year in 2015. To do that with 150 employees is incredible. And then WhatsApp, which, you know, came later, so something like 50 some odd employees, acquired for $20+ billion.
I'll raise the flag here and say not really fair to do the revenue calculation for the ad network, since they're piggybacking off of Facebook's ad network, and I'm sure that takes a lot of engineers.
True. But I think about the leverage that is possible with technology and technology companies versus, again, old world media where I spent time earlier in my career. I mean, nowhere near that kind of leverage that you can get. All right, let's wrap up.
Conclusion time?
Conclusion time.
So, acquired for $1 billion. December of last year, externally valued at $35 billion. Even ignoring the fact that that's based on, there's $2 billion in revenues this year. This is like not grasping at straws. This is a very real revenue product. And in fact, when it was acquired, I don't think it had revenue. They had no ad platform. They had
nothing.
Pretty incredible what they've done since acquired. 35x multiple post-acquisition on that property alone. Not to mention all the ancillary benefits of potentially steering Facebook as a whole organization in the right direction on mobile. I mean, do I get a plus? It's an A+.
I know we need more disagreement on this show, but man, A+ for me too. This might even be the very from a
multiple
return standpoint, even just straight financial returns. This might be the very best acquisition in technology history.
I'm curious. Is there ever how small of a scale do you have to go down to get something that was a 35x multiple in 3 years?
I mean, Bungie, perhaps.
Foreshadowing.
That'll be an interesting episode. By the way, listeners, if you have requests, suggestions, comments, thoughts, as we said, but
if you could think of companies we haven't,
please send our way. We'd also love to have some guests on this show.
And by send it our way, there's Twitter. There's also a little feedback form on our site where you can submit stuff.
We'd also love to have guests. If you have particular insight into a great technology acquisition in history, that either you were part of it directly, or you worked on it as part of a third party, and you want to be on our show, shoot us a note.
Cool. About done here?
I think we're about done.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you next time.
Who got the truth? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Who got the truth now? Huh?
All right, listeners, now is a great time to talk about one of our favorite companies, Statsig.
Yes, long-time acquired partner. There is a reason why the best product teams at companies like OpenAI and Notion, Atlassian, Figma, Rippling, Brex, and more rely on Statsig, whether they are iterating on their core product features or shipping AI-powered experiences at scale.
Yep. In the crazy speed of today's AI world, shipping fast is just table stakes now. It's basically trivial to build and deploy your app constantly. The real advantage is how quickly you learn what changes actually created value for customers and how fast you can use that signal to guide what you ship next. Whether it's a feature tweak, a pricing change, a performance improvement, or an AI update like a model change or prompt adjustment, they're not relying on instinct. They're measuring what actually moved engagement, retention, and ultimately revenue. And as more teams build with AI, that learning loop becomes even more important. Building with LLMs introduces non-determinism into your product experience. The same input doesn't always produce the same output, and behavior can shift in subtle ways in real-world use.
So doing offline evals will give you part of the picture, but you can really only understand the impact once your product is live with real users, and then you can measure how their behavior actually changes. It's very different than the way that you would ship features in a pre-AI world where you knew exactly what the software was going to do in production.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where Statsig comes in. It brings experimentation, feature flags, and product analytics into one unified system so teams can ship safely, test rigorously, and directly link what they changed to how users actually behaved. The result is a tighter feedback loop and learning that compounds over time, so you don't just ship more, you ship better.
So if you want to make learning your competitive advantage, whether you're building new AI experiences or just evolving your existing core product, go to statsig.com/acquired to get started.